hates you?
Digital is really important right now in the water sector. It's the buzzword, digital water. Everything revolves around that right now. And of course, utilities have a need to start their digital journey somewhere. What I'm seeing, however, is that a lot of times they start the journey, but they don't have a clear destination in mind. And in some way that creates problems because, of course, there's going to be a lot of effort, of resources invested in this digital journey. But of course, the results will not always follow suit. So I think it's very important to have a little bit of pre-thought before starting anything digital in a utility and having a clear idea of what is to be achieved with that digital journey and what is the strategic goals that want to be attained. Of course, the landscape is continuously changing right now, and of course, I would always separate a little bit between the hardware and the software. In terms of hardware, there's a lot of remote sensing going on. Probably the most typical one would be smart metering, right? So doing AMI and trying to get a lot of data from end users, but we have the same with pressure sensors and have water quality sensors deployed. And of course, along the hardware, it's also the remote operation, so the SCADA and the continuation of that. On the software side, I think that, of course, digital twins are probably the hot concept right now, and trying to have a real-time understanding of what's happening at the system level. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of decision support systems based on artificial intelligence engines and the like. So there's a lot to choose from. And people don't always have a clear idea of what they need and why. We're seeing this in a few places. Of course, there's a lot of investment in digital going on. Even sometimes it's supported by the administration. A good example is Spain, where 3,000 million euro are going to be invested in digital water in the next few months. There's also a big investment drive in the UK, and I'm sure there's other countries as well with this trend. And the problem I see here usually is the lack of a clear strategic mind when applying to digital. A lot of investment in hardware, usually smart meters. And I think that one of the problems that may bring is that if there's a very heavy investment in a technology and there's not a return on that investment, it may create doubts on the medium term. So one possible problem that we may find is the investment of millions of euros or dollars in a certain large amount of meters, for instance, that will create a great amount of data. But if the utilities don't really have a clear understanding of what they are going to do with those data, how they are going to find efficiencies and a return on that investment, it can create a problem, especially because those sort of technologies are not a one-time investment. In the case of meters, they're going to have to be renewed after some years, whether it's 7, 10, 12 years. And of course, replacing a smart meter is far more expensive than replacing a mechanical, old-fashioned meter. And of course, when the time comes to renew all those meters, the investment will probably be judged much more harshly, and there will be a problem. So I think that water management still remains the same, even if digital kicked in or not. And of course, the ABC is first get your strategy right, know which are your strategic goals, where do you want to go, in 10 years time, for instance. And in that respect, I think it's very important to have clear goals and then design a digital plan to achieve those goals. In that sense, it may be the case with smaller utilities, but also with the large ones, that they don't have a clear idea of the possibilities of the new technologies, the new systems. Perhaps in those cases, I would advise to start with pilots, but instead of trying just one pilot with just one technology or one investment such as meters, I would say maybe you can get some meters, get a digital twin, try to see, for instance, if what you want to reduce is non-revenue water or improve the operation, and then kind of scale it up from there. That will give you a much smaller investment at the beginning and a much better, clearer idea of where you want to go next. And in this respect, for instance, I think that what Katium is doing, the kind of product out there, is really good for this kind of incremental implementation, because you have an open solution which is free at the beginning, but at the same time you can scale it and turn into a professional solution that will cater all your needs if you decide to go bigger. And that would be my advice. So two things clearly: have a very good understanding of what is to be achieved, and the second one is maybe start small but with the clear determination of continuous growth.
Katium.